Okay. It's not that the Rambam pulled the 13 principles of faith out of his ass. The Rambam was merely put into writing that which was the Masorah that reached his generation. With the Rambam, all he did in his Mishnah Torah and his Moreh Nevuchim and all these other sefers that he wrote, and he used the word codified, he did not make up his own Torah. He wrote down that which was taught to him by his Rebbeim, from his rabbis, that were brought down from their rabbis, generation after generation. You might say that what made the Rambam special was not his brains, but was his penmanship. That he was just able to get all this stuff down in print. The Talmud was not created in the year 800. Okay, the Talmud is merely a written down form of the oral Torah that was passed generation to generation, starting at Mount Sinai when God spoke to Moses, and Moses spoke to the Jewish people in the desert, and they taught their kids generation after generation, all the way down, generation after generation, until they reached the times of the Talmud, and it was written down. That which was not completely written down in the Talmud, which was understood in their heads, and they didn't need to write it down because it hadn't been forgotten yet, was that which was passed down in people like Rashi and Tosfos and the Rambam and the Ramban and the Rashbam and these other Rishonim. They in turn had to write down themselves. Rambam, Rashi, none of these people came up with their own interpretations. Rather, they all wrote down that which was taught to them. So the Rambam's 13 principles of faith, you may not see them defined as such or delineated within the Talmud. But that doesn't mean that the people in the Talmud wouldn't know from these things. They knew from them. They didn't need to write down that. That was something that that went without saying. They didn't need to write that down. Did you know that the halachas, you will not find in the Talmud? Did you know that, Levi?
There are halakhic discussions.
There's
but if you want
halakhic
codification of how to apply these halakhic discussions to our modern times. The leading code is the Shulchan Aruch, which is 15th century.
Right, because there was no need to write down in the Talmud a lot of things. Only certain things in the oral Torah needed to be written down. But, like you tell me, what's the halacha of whatever, I didn't need to write that down. Because we all knew that, because we all kept it. So certain halachas, or almost all halachas, all laws that we kept, weren't written down in the Talmud. So to say that if something's not written down in the Talmud, therefore, we didn't know about it at that time period, is fallacious. It's a stupid argument, it needs to be dropped and dismissed. Because the laws themselves were not written down. So, that we have to also assume that the Rambam's 13 principles of faith were known and understood by everyone in the times, all the sages in the times of the Gemara, in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, and back in the times of the desert. Just as the Mishnah Torah, which is a halachic collection, it's a codification of the laws. None of that was written down in the Talmud. The Rambam had to put it down in writing. He also put down in writing the laws of what constitutes a heretic. And there is a chapter in Hilchos Tshuva. You know Hilchos Tshuva? What that is? The laws of repentance. I think it's the second or third chapter. Lists what classifies halachically what classifies a kofar, an an apicorus, a min, and these are the types. These are different types of heretics. This is a part of Jewish law, and you can actually find that the Rambam's not pulling this out of his butt. If you learn in the Gemara in Avodah Zorah, you'll see like a lot of this. It's in there. It's in Sanhedrin. It's in Avodah Zorah. If you comb through the Talmud, you will find the roots to the laws of what constitutes a heretic. You will see things like that. So it's not that the Rambam pulled this out of his butt. It's all there.
Okay, you wanted to answer something by Reb Taka.
Oh yeah, Reb Taka asked a question.
He asked you, what's worse, to
That's a good
observe
question.
conservative Judaism and drive to temple, or to deny God?
Okay, can I give the answer to that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not. You want the simple answer? I don't think there's a difference. Here's why. Okay. Conservative Judaism is a really good question, by the way. I like it. Conservative Judaism is a form of kathira, heresy, but it's a special type of heresy. It's kofar. It's kofar. A kofar is someone who denies. You're denying that the Torah is the truth. So you're creating your own offshoot, offshoot from Judaism. You've corrupted Torah. You've mutilated it and perverted it. These are words you might be familiar with, like perversion, right? You're perverting Torah. You come up with some other type of religion, right? It's some sort of weird form of avodah zorah. Avodah zorah is a strange service. That's idolatry. So it's idolatrous. It's heretical. It's a terrible thing. You get in your car and you drive to it. The driving to it isn't so like the end of the world, but you're going there to be part of a form of heresy. Okay? You may not believe in any of it, but you're going there to be part of it. I would say better not to go. Better not to go. Better to stay home, don't drive, and don't go nowhere. Because it's what's the word I want? It's heretical. And if you're going to drive, seriously, I'm going to get to another question in a second. I have a better question for Reb Taco. Now, to deny God, say there's no God, that's also a form of kofar. Kafira. Kofar be'ikr. You're denying the very existence of God. That is atheism. That is the worst form of avodah zorah. The Rambam says that's the worst form of avodah zorah, is to say that the one God doesn't even exist. That's worse, according to the Rambam, than polytheism, which is more than one God. Because at least you have the concept of a God in there. Here you say there's no God. That's the worst form of avodah zorah, which is idolatry. That's worse, right? So both are bad. That there are two types of kafira, there are two types of heresy, and they're both bad. Now the question you should have asked me, Reb Taco, is what's better to do with your car on Saturday? Drive to the kafira, the heretical temple, the temple of doom, or drive to pick up a hooker and banger. And I would say drive to pick up a hooker and banger.
Is worse?
Is better.
Oh, no.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing? It's better because there's nothing heretical about it.
Unless she's a Reform rabbi.
There's nothing.
And she talks kafira to you the whole time you're clicking it.
Right? So I would say it's better to pick up a hooker and banger when you drive on Saturday, because you're doing different forms of averas, right? You're doing sins. You're doing terrible sins, right? It's not heresy, and we can still, we don't hate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard about like Christians who've gone to strip clubs to get a lap dance, and like the girl giving them the lap dance starts talking to them about evolution, and it leads them to like give up their faith. So be careful if you're getting a lap dance that your stripper starts talking to you about evolution. Okay, I've got a question for you. Out of say 100 people who love you, what percentage of them would like me if they knew me? And
wait, say that again.
Out of 100 people who love you,
and love me
personally? You've got your followers, whether online or in real life,
okay.
Either way.